Today I survived 100 days in Minecraft Hardcore Squad Edition. This means we were 4 times more likely to die. And die we did, as we had multiple failed attempts at this challenge. But can we do it this time? Well, you'll just have to watch to find out. But before we get into it, I want to introduce you to the boys. There's McGreasy, Metis, Toxemic Berry, and then me, Carme. We had 3 goals before starting. The first one was to defeat a raid, the second was to kill the Ender Dragon, and the third was more of a personal one to me, but I want to try and get full netherite armour. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, and maybe even subscribe, as we spent weeks on this video. But I don't want to waste any more of your time, so let's get into day 1. So we spawned in, and of course the first thing we did was gather some wood. After gathering a bunch of wood, the chunks loaded in, and we realised we had spawned right next to a village. So of course we were all super happy about it, and all ran over there. When we got there, to the absolute dismay of the villagers, we began taking their year's worth of supplies, which we then promptly split between the 4 of us. After taking my rations, I went to go make a wooden pickaxe, and I mined down for some stone. But for whatever reason, Metis decided that this would be the right time to come and annoy me, so I was only able to get 8 bits. I then crafted myself a furnace, and went somewhere else. Now that we were free of Metis, I was able to get enough stone for an axe and a pickaxe. I was also able to get some coal and iron as well. But for whatever reason, I was obviously not welcome here either, as I started getting shot at by a skeleton. So I got the message and left. Then me, McGreasy and Toxemic Berry were looking for somewhere to stay. We were also looking for Metis as well, because he had just vanished, but then both our problems were solved as we found Metis building an underground bunker for us to stay the night in. So for the rest of the night we just helped Metis build this bunker. And by the morning of day 2 we'd actually done quite a lot of work, but of course that was all stopped when we locked Toxemic Berry in a cage with no pickaxe, and he was pretty salty about it. But when he got out we realised we should probably mature a little bit and actually go do some jobs. So Metis decided he wanted to stay down and keep working on the bunker, while Toxemic Berry decided he wanted to build a wall around our new lands. McGreasy wanted to go build a mine, and I thought we should probably have a house to stay in, so I went to go build on our new house. And after a while of building, I ran out of cobble, so I went mining with McGreasy and Metis. And I had my first near-death experience, as while I was mining I fell into a hole and got chased by zombies. After that, I didn't like how weak I was and how I almost died, so I decided I should probably look out for iron so I can get some iron armour. I then went back to mining for cobble, but I was now looking out for iron as well. And while we were mining, McGreasy found diamonds, which of course we were super happy about and all ran over there, as these were the first diamonds we'd found so far. We then collected them up and went back to mining. After a bit more mining, I had enough cobble and a fair amount of iron, so I went back to the surface, as I wanted to go see what we were going to do with our newfound diamonds, and you know what, I'll give it to him, we did technically lock him in a hole. So on day 3 I went back to working on our house, which I kept working on throughout days 4 and 5. And after a lot of log chopping and placing, and also trapping Metis in a hole with Toxemic Berry, something absolutely no one wants, I finally finished on the morning of day 6. And I mean, it's nothing special, but it's somewhere to stay for now. I then decided to give it a reasonable name, as this is just somewhere to stay till we build our own houses. Then I realised I still hadn't crafted full iron yet, which is something I've been trying to do for quite a while. So on day 7 I did exactly that, and after crafting my armour and tools, I felt just a little bit safer. However, we did know if we wanted to be properly safe, we would need to get ourselves some diamond armour. So on day 8 we all ran into the mines with high hopes, and began our search, and on day 9 I found the first vein on this mining trip. But it wasn't enough, so I kept mining on days 10 to 12 non-stop. And we began to find quite a few, which we put in this chest. But by looking at our stash of diamonds, and how many days it took us to get them, I knew we were going to be mining for a long time. And I was right, as after mining from the end of day 12 up to day 16, I still didn't have full diamond yet. But I was getting there. I then came out of the cave for a bit and began stocking up on materials such as wood. By this point McGreasy already had full diamond, and Metis and Toxemic Berry were getting there too. But I was still lacking, so I went back into the mines on day 17, which I kinda didn't want to do, as I was getting a little bit sick of mining, but I really wanted that full diamond. So I went down, and fairly quickly we began finding diamonds after diamonds. And at this point Metis finally got full diamond. So on day 19 he was now helping me, and soon after I was able to craft myself full diamond armour. I then went to go check on Toxemic Berry, and he had full diamond too. So on day 20 we all stood in line with our new shiny armour for a group photo. And then the next day on day 21 we realised something. Even though we were of course super happy with our new diamond armour, we had been spending quite a lot of time down in the mines. So for some new scenery, we decided to build a nether portal and jump through. However, there's a certain song that we probably should have listened to, as almost as soon as we went through, we were absolutely bombarded by ghasts. I even almost died. So, realising how serious the situation was and how we were almost going to die and lose all our days, we decided to leave. However, we knew we'd have to go back there really soon, as there was many things we wanted to do in the nether. But instead of going back straight away, me, Metis and McGreasy actually decided to go on a bit of an adventure, because we hadn't really explored our world yet, and also we wanted to find a big open area to build our new houses. Also, Tuxemicberry didn't want to come as he was working on a project back at home. However, our quest actually turned out to be pretty eventful, as we managed to find a jungle and even an underwater sea temple, which we of course took the coordinates down for, as this is definitely somewhere we're coming back to. If not 100 days, definitely 200. We also definitely should have slept before leaving, as we had a full night of getting attacked by phantoms. We even had to bury ourselves into a mountain to keep safe. Then on the morning of day 22, we came out of our hideout and decided to go exploring again. And after exploring for quite a while, we actually found this nice little area that we thought would be pretty good for our homes. So me and Metis built up a nether portal which could connect our newfound lands back to our home base. But McGreasy was taking quite a while, so to pass the time we decided to have a snowball fight. But then McGreasy finally got there, so we lit the portal and began making a safe tunnel back home. And then throughout days 23, 24 and 25, that was all we were doing, and after quite a lot of building, we'd finally finished. We even had a railway track from one side to the other, and I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty fun, as long as you didn't leave the cart when on the rails, because this glitch is absolutely terrifying. And then on the morning of day 26, we left the nether and was almost instantly greeted by Tuxemicberry, who said his project was almost done, but he wanted to add a couple finishing touches. And then for the rest of day 26, all the way up to day 33, I was helping McGreasy with a new raid farm, as we wanted an easy way to get some totems. So I helped him build the traps, and make spaces for the iron golems. And after doing that, we went to go get some pumpkins because we needed them to make the iron golems. And after searching for a little bit, we finally found them. So we brought them back and spawned in the iron golems. And then on day 30, I actually went to go do some enchanting on the new enchanting table that Metis had made. And I managed to get silk touch on my pickaxe, which I was really happy about. But then we went back to building, and on day 33, the raid farm was basically done. All we needed was a villager. Oh yeah, and then this guy showed up as well, but come on. I mean, we all knew what his fate was. Also, day 33 was the day that Tuxemicberry showed us the little project he'd been working on, which was a trophy room for every single biome we'd been to so far. That included the overworld, the nether, and it will soon hopefully include the end. And then on day 34, we didn't really do anything, we just ran around doing odd jobs around the house. But then on day 35, we actually began doing some important stuff again, and we went out on the hunt for villagers, as we needed them for the raid farm, but we also wanted to do some trading as well. And we were actually really lucky, as we had made our house right next to a village, so it was really easy to get some villagers. So we all got our boats, and consensually began taking the villagers, which was actually quite hard because the boats didn't go over blocks, so we had to carve a tunnel all the way back. And this took quite a while, as we were still working on day 36. But then finally we managed to get quite a few villagers, so we began building a place for them to stay. And after building all through the night, we had finally finished, and we began moving the villagers into their new home. We then stayed with the villagers throughout days 37 and 38, as we wanted to get a villager who could sell us a mending book. And eventually, we did. This means when we are ready, we can begin putting it on tools, and when we get it, the elytra. I also went to go set up the raid villager's home, as we knew we wanted to do a raid soon. Then on day 39, we began trying to breed the villagers. So we gave them the bread and the privacy, but it was too late for them, and they decided to go to bed instead. So we went to go do other stuff, including a small bit of netherite mine, where we found a single vein of 2. And then a day later, on day 40, we came back to try again, but still nothing. We really didn't know what we were doing wrong. But then on day 41, we had some luck, and we had our first villager baby. Then on day 42, I tried enchanting, but they were all terrible, so I gave up. And then on day 43, I went into the nether to do some netherite mining. And after mining on day 44 up to day 45, my goals actually changed, as I was hardly able to find any netherite at all, only like 2 bits. So I decided to quit for now and instead go looking for the fortress with Metis, as we knew we wanted to beat the game soon. But after not finding it close to spawn, me and Metis just decided to keep walking in the same direction until we found it, which we did from days 45 to 48. And after travelling through many biomes and fighting off a lot of monsters, we finally found the fortress. So we instantly began making a safe staircase up to the top. However, we decided to not go in straight away, as we wanted to go and get everyone else first. However, we knew doing the journey we just did with 4 people would be super dangerous. So we decided the best option would be to build a tunnel all the way back to the portal. So that's what we did, and after working on this tunnel throughout days 48 and 49, we made it back. And there was now a safe way for all 4 of us to travel between our base and the fortress. But we decided before exploring the fortress and getting the blaze rods, we should do a raid first and get some totems. So to not waste any time, on the same day I went to go move one of our villagers to the raid farm. And after a lot of struggle through day and night, and him somehow surviving this creeper blast, on day 50 we managed to get the villager into his new home and the raid farm was now ready. All we had to do now was wait for some pillagers to come by and give us bad omen. And then our wishes came true, as on the same day we were able to kill a group of pillagers who spawned right outside our house. This gave McGreasy bad omen, which meant we could go and defeat the raid whenever we were ready. We then make a bit of a mistake on day 51, as we got up in the tower and started the raid, not realising Toxemic Berry was literally in the house AFK. We find out later he was actually at the toilet, but by the time we realised he was gone, we'd already started the raid. So we just decided to keep fighting it until he came back. But he didn't come back till the end of the raid. But I promise in the next raid he is there, and for all the other raids he is there as well. Also, if you're wondering, McGreasy is in the raid farm. You need someone in there to make it work. So the raid had officially started, and we were now shooting pillagers. And this is where our stress levels went through the roof, as we had just seen the clip of Dante DM getting killed by a raid farm. But we were already in too deep and we had already started the raid, so we began fighting off the first wave, which spawned in our cow farm. This meant we ended up accidentally killing a lot of our livestock trying to kill the pillagers. Round we stayed in the tower shooting pillagers and fighting off phantoms. You can also see the raid farm doing its job. We then fought the raid the whole night into the morning of day 52. We then kept fighting throughout the rest of the waves, and on wave 5 we see our first Ravager, along with a full army of pillagers crossing the river, which absolutely terrified us, as this amount could trample and kill us instantly. But we stood our ground, and after beating that round and one other, we only had one more to go. And after fighting off Ravagers, and picking off the witches who had survived the traps, we managed to beat the raid. So we began collecting up the totems. However, there was a bit of a problem. There wasn't enough totems for everybody. So when Toxemic Berry finally got back from the toilet, there wasn't one for him. But Metis, being the nice guy he is, he told me to give his totem to Toxemic Berry. We then spent the rest of day 52 trading, and I managed to get a Protection 4 book, which I put on my chest plate. And then on day 53, we found some saddles laying around our base. So me and Metis went out looking for horses. And on our journey, we actually found a dog, which I of course tamed. And soon after taming the dog, we found the horses. So we began taming basically all of them, looking for a good horse, but they were all terrible. But finally Metis actually found a pretty good one, so now it was just me left, and I had now gotten to the last horse, which I tamed, and I mean it was pretty fast, and it had pretty good health, but it was absolutely terrible at jumping. But it was the best I could get, so we began making our journey back home, and on day 54 we returned. After putting my horse away in its new home, we decided that now we had totems, we should finally go to the nether and get blaze rods. So that is exactly what we did, and all 4 of us made the trek through the tunnel we made previously, which honestly didn't take long at all, so I guess building the tunnel was a good idea. We then entered the fortress and began safe-proofing the area. After doing that, we surrounded the spawner and spent a while killing blazes. After getting quite a few blaze rods, me and Metis actually went to another spawner to try and speed up the process, and we were collecting blaze rods all the way into day 55. And after we felt like we had collected enough blaze rods, we decided to go and explore the fortress, looking for loot and nether wart, as we wanted to go make potions soon, and pretty quickly we found some. So we decided not to stay any longer and begin making the journey back. And once we got back home, we decided to actually begin preparing for the Ender Dragon fight, as the day this was recorded was the day before Easter, and we decided as a joke we would throw an egg at the Ender Dragon to celebrate the holiday. So we began by putting the things we would probably need in a chest. Then on day 56, me and Toxemic Berry began making some potions, such as slow falling using the phantom membranes we had gotten earlier, and regeneration potions. And after we had made quite a few together, I left him on day 57 to carry on brewing himself, as I needed to go and upgrade my armour. I wanted at least full protection 4 before fighting the Ender Dragon, something a villager we had was actually willing to trade to us. So needing emeralds for the trade, I began chopping down a lot of trees for sticks, which I could trade to the Fletcher for emeralds. and while I was collecting some wood, Magreezy said that he'd just killed some pillagers and got on bad omen. And because Metis still didn't have a totem yet, we decided to all drop what we were doing and go and do the raid. And this time Toxemic Berry was actually going to be there, so he took the place of being the bait this time, which meant Magreezy could come and help us. And after another long raid full of pillagers, ravengers, and even vexes this time, we won again on day 58. We had now beat our second raid, and after killing the rest of the vexes, we went to sleep. And the next morning, I gathered some more wood, and using my Heroes of the Village, I was able to get a bunch of protection 4 books, which I used on my armour. This meant I now had full protection 4. And at this point, we were pretty strong. We had a bunch of slow falling, regeneration, and Toxemic Berry had even made some strength potions. Also, we all had enchanted armour, and Magreezy even had netherrite armour. So we decided to make the Eye of Enders and set out on the hunt for the stronghold. And after searching throughout the day, night, through forests, mountains, and plains biomes, on day 62, the Ender Eye went straight down. So we all began digging. However, I didn't know someone had dug below me, so I had a pretty nasty fall into the stronghold. But once we all entered, we all began searching for the portal room. And this is actually one of the good main uses of having 4 people, as we were actually able to find it reasonably quickly. We then nervously stood over the portal, knowing if we were going to die, it was probably going to be now, and we had put so many hours into this world and many other worlds. However, we couldn't turn back now, so we built up the courage, placed in the eyes, drank our potions, and jumped through. Once we entered, we began mining our way up to the dragon. Once there, we quickly began trying to take out the towers, as this is where the dragon gets its main regeneration from. And as we were doing this, the dragon was throwing down its toxic breath upon us. And after shooting many arrows and being attacked by a lot of endermen, we finally took them all out. So we now turned our focus to the dragon itself, and began running in with swords and bows. And then after getting it really low, I remembered to throw my egg at it, but to my horror, it did nothing. But it didn't matter anyway because we killed it straight after. We did it. We beat the game. And when that XP came falling from the sky, I was so happy. Well, I was until I realised Metis and Magreezy took all the XP and I got absolutely none of it. I was, not gonna lie, genuinely a bit sad, but I couldn't do much about it. We then decided we might as well go and try and get the elytra, so we threw our ender pearls through the portal and went through. And then we realised how terrible the spawn was, as after building bridges after bridges, from island to island, we still hadn't found the end city yet. And we were still looking throughout days 63 and most of day 64. We were generally getting a bit worried there just wasn't one at all. But then by the end of day 64, we found it. And this one even had a ship. So we all ran over there and began doing parkour up, and looted it for its goodies. But we weren't done yet, as we needed to get to the ship. So Magreezy built up and placed water so we could all swim up there. And once I reached the top, there it was, the elytra. We then proceeded to take it and loot the chests, which had pretty good stuff in it, and then Metis showed me his flying skills. We then spent days 65 and 66 crouching back, hoping we didn't fall off. But luckily we didn't, and by the end of the day we had made it back home. We then spent days 67 to 68 relaxing around our base, and collecting up quite a lot of materials, as we finally decided to build our new homes in that area we found earlier. And Toxemic Berry gave us some dyed shulker boxes, so we put the stuff in there. Also, in between doing all of this, I also got a mending book, which I put on my pickaxe. This means my pickaxe now has efficiency 4, silk touch, and mending. And then after going back to mining for a little bit, we all had loads of materials. So all of us then travelled through the minecart track towards the new lands. Once there, we all began setting up camp and building our new houses. And after working on our homes throughout days 69 and 70, also building this pretty cool ice path, we found some pillagers, and feeling a little bit bored, we decided to do another raid. Just a quick one though. Also, those extra totems would be really nice. So I went back to the raid farm and basically just made it all nice, which I did for the rest of day 70 and day 71. I put in some new iron golems and just fixed the place up. And this actually took quite a while, as it took ages to get the iron. And then on day 72, the raid farm was ready. We brought over Toxemic Berry, who had the bad omen, and the raid began. However, fixing up the raid farm didn't seem to do much, as the raid farm just didn't really work. So we were left just having to fight it off the normal way. But at this point, we were kind of raid experts, and after killing a bunch of pillagers, on day 73, we beat the raid pretty easily. We then celebrated together by listening to Metis' new disc. Then on day 74, we made our way back through the minecart track to our new houses. But after building a bit more, I ran out of materials. So I made a mine for stone and began digging. I even went down to diamond level just in case I got a bit lucky. I then mined a bunch of stone, which I kept doing on day 75. And I guess going down to Y level 11 was worth it, as I managed to find some diamonds. And then from days 76 to 82, I built on my house. And then on day 83, we messed up. Metis had just killed a bunch of pillagers and got on bad omen. So we told him to stay at the base so we could keep the bad omen for later, as we knew we would definitely want to go and get totems soon. But eventually, he needed to go back to the old base for materials. So we let him go, thinking that if he didn't go near the raid farm, it won't set off the raid. But sadly, and this isn't his fault by the way, the raid went off. So to go help him, we all dropped what we were doing and scrambled back to the old base. And we had to do another raid. But this one was so unexpected, we didn't even use the raid farm. So all 4 of us began battling this raid and actually took quite a lot of damage. But after a night of fighting, we pulled through and won. And then on our way back to the houses on day 84, I decided to only keep working on the house till day 89, which was another 5 days, as I didn't want to spend the whole rest of this challenge working on the house. So I got back and began building. I built up the turrets, made the side walls, and added detail to the front. But it still wasn't finished on day 89, and it was going to take quite a while to finish it. I accepted finishing this castle was probably going to be a job for 200 days. I'm still pretty happy with it so far though. I then went to go check out what everyone else had been building. Greasy built an underground bunker which was pretty cool and had a lot of detail in it. Toxic Berry built a glass cube as he was building a bigger version of the biome thing he built earlier. And Metis made another castle, but this one was very well detailed and looks honestly really good. And you obviously know what I built. And then me and Metis went into the nether as he had just found a bastion. So feeling ready for an adventure and also wanting to find Pigstep, we started exploring. And no joke, we genuinely found a Pigstep first chest. I couldn't believe the luck. Then on day 90, we were still in the nether and we were netherite mining. But after being there for days 91 and 92, I found some, but not too much. And then when I was trying to leave, I made an absolutely terrible play, as I was half health with no hunger in the nether too, which is already completely stupid. I began getting shot at by a piglin, so I instantly began trying to run. However, I was cut off by a steep verge, which the drop off could have potentially killed me. So I turned around and realised the piglin was reloading its crossbow. If he had shot me, I probably would have been knocked off, but I was spared, so I quickly ran away and then as fast as possible built around me for protection. I then realised the big mistake. I didn't have my totem on, as I had taken it off to heal up my Silk Touch pickaxe. So the chance that I could have lost all of this in that one moment was very high, and I honestly can't believe I'm alive. At least I now know to always keep my totem in my offhand, just in case. I then came back to the house, and on day 93 I helped build an 100 days monument, which is for the celebration we will be holding on day 100. But then I decided I really wanted that full netherite, as I was a little bit jealous of McGreasy and Metis. So I went back to the nether, and throughout days 94 and 95 I was looking for netherite. However, I still didn't find too much, so I came back for a tiny break, and on day 96 to 97, we hunted down some creepers for fireworks. Also, this is why you place torches around your base, because I mean, just look at this. Then I realised on day 98, if I wanted netherite, I would have to go now. So Metis decided to come and help me, and we crafted a bunch of beds. And this method was so effective, as we managed to collect tons of netherite, and I left the nether on day 100 with enough for full netherite armour, which I quickly crafted. We then all ran over to the 100 days sign, and as the day was coming to an end, we lit up an array of fireworks, signalling the end of the challenge. So we had done it. We survived 100 days in Minecraft Hardcore Squad Edition. We were also able to complete all the goals we set out for ourselves. So if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and also turn on post notifications, as it will notify you for the 200 days video. But you of course don't have to, and that is completely up to you. I just hope you enjoyed this video. Anyway, I hope to see you in 200 days.